It's the day of truth for Harris and Trump. It's been years in the making. Can you tell us what exactly they're doing today? We just saw Trump, but how are they spending the day and what are their plans for the evening as the results start coming in?
Yeah, well, I was listening to that press conference with Donald Trump at the end of his voting before we came on air, and I'll give you a bit of a rundown of what he said there. Earlier in the day, he called this the most important day in American history. He has told his supporters to stay in line, regardless of when they get to the polling place. He told them to stay in line and vote. He said that the Republican lines have been longer than ever before. I must say, I don't know how he knows that, because you don't exactly have Democratic lines and Republican lines at polling stations. Everybody's just all together. But he has said that he has seen some data that says that he's doing very well. Of course, he has said these kind of things in the past as well. He also said that Democrats could leave the line, though. So Donald Trump perhaps trying to get his voters to stay a bit longer than the opposition. But he was also asked some questions, importantly, about whether he was going to declare victory on election night. And he said that it depended what would happen. Of course, widely, a lot of analysts believe that he will declare victory on election night, regardless of whatever happens. He also, interestingly, I thought, mentioned Pennsylvania. Now, we know that there is going to be a bit of a delay in the results in Pennsylvania, and he kind of alluded to this, saying that he's been told and he's heard that it's going to take a couple of days. So is he laying the groundwork there for potentially something to be announced later this evening? It's also a different sort of rhetoric that we heard from him in the last election about the delayed vote count. At least this time around, for example, he is conceding that there could be a delay in that counting, which is an interesting development that we've not really heard from him before. So something to take note of there. He was also asked whether he wins or loses, that this would be the last time he would be campaigning, and he said yes, it was. So he's echoing what he said before in the past. So Donald Trump now then going back to Mar-a-Lago, where he'll be spending most of the day down there in Florida. He said that he may head over to the convention center that they've booked out in Mar-a-Lago to talk to his 3,000 or 4,000 supporters. He said that have been gathered there at that convention center, where the rest of the press is also convening as well. And Kamala Harris's team is still continuing to try to get out the vote this morning. Governor Walz, for example, her vice presidential nominee, is holding a rally in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, to try to get, in Allentown, to try to get that vote out as well. So the work continues for the Democratic side, and Kamala Harris will be here in D.C. later on this evening for her election night party, which will be taking place at Howard University, which is where we'll be later on this evening. And that, of course, being her alma mater, the university that she attended and got her degree from. So a real kind of full circle moment for Kamala Harris this evening here in D.C.
Now, Fraser, integrity of the vote, safety of voting, these are not normally huge concerns for Americans, but this is not a normal election cycle. Have we been hearing of any issues at polling stations so far?
Yeah, we've heard a couple of things coming out of Fulton County in Georgia. Of course, that name will probably ring a bell to you. That is where Donald Trump has been facing one of his legal battles in Fulton County for the way he conducted himself during the last presidential election campaign. Well, we have heard that there have been, quote, 5 non-credible bomb threats at 2 polling stations in Fulton County, which caused 2 polling stations to be evacuated for around 30 minutes each. We've also heard of a couple of issues at a couple of polling stations in Illinois, in the Chicago area, but that was a technical issue, we are told. But the government is keeping an eye not just on the domestic threat and domestic issues, but also the international threats as well. We got a statement late last night from the FBI, the ODNI, the Office for the Director of National Intelligence, and also from the CISA. We can bring this up on screen for you now. I'll read a bit of it for you. It says, influence actors linked to Russia in particular are manufacturing videos and creating fake articles to undermine the legitimacy of the election, instill fear in voters regarding the election process, and suggest Americans are using violence against each other to political preferences. It then finishes, we anticipate Russian actors will release additional manufactured content with those themes through election day and in the days and weeks after polls close. While the FBI has said today that they are tracking another fake news clip, which was telling people to stay home and not go to the polling stations for fear of political violence. But so far, that violence has not manifested itself, and we'll be keeping an eye on that as it continues. I'm getting updates from the FBI and those other two intelligence agencies throughout the day.
So just a very clear message to any Americans who may be watching. It is safe to vote. Go out and use your constitutional right to vote. Fraser Jackson in Washington, thank you so much, and we'll be checking in with you a lot over the next day. See you soon.